Okay, we're live now. I'd like to welcome everybody out. And last week we talked about grow what you eat and eat what you grow. Anybody have any comments on that subject? Have you thought about it any?
I have too much milk, and so I'm trying to learn how to make cheese, like real cheese, not Instapot cheese that's very quick, and it's daunting.
Where are you getting all this milk from?
We have goats just for the milk, so
Uh-huh.
it's just I usually only have one, but this year I did both, and it's a gallon a day, and I'm just
Uh-huh.
like, well, okay. Even with a large family, it's still too much milk.
That's a lot of milk.
You can only use so much cottage cheese, huh?
Yeah, exactly. So it's daunting to try the real block process with the cheese cave, and it's just
Right,
daunting. But I got to do something.
right. I know some people who have bought a wine cooler for their cave.
Yes, I was thinking about that.
And,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they're not out of sight, but they are new, a couple of $100 or so, but anyway, and they don't hold all that much. But, that's something that also people who incubate eggs use to store their eggs in pre-incubation, because it's about the right temperature. It's like 55 degrees or something like that, which is ideal for storing eggs for a couple of weeks before you're going to put them in the incubator. So
I hadn't heard of that. I have an extra incubator.
so that's a device that can serve two purposes at least.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Thank you for that. I hadn't thought of that.
So if you go back to the permaculture principles, every decision you make should have at least two factoids that push you towards making that decision, preferably three or four, kind of like planting a tree in this location. You should have more than one reason. So moving on to preparedness news. The markets were strongly up today after positive inflation data, meaning that inflation dropped a tenth of a point. So I'm not sure how that makes the stock market go up. The Dow and the NASDAQ both went up over 400 points today. So it's okay. They'll probably come down that much tomorrow. It's been a very volatile time period. So we kind of talked about last week when the market was terribly down that been waiting for this for a couple of years, and how do you prepare for that? And probably continue that a little bit of that tonight. And if anybody has any questions on that, just speak up. So gold was up today a few dollars at 24.67, but that was about $100 above last week at this time. Goldbacks were up about 15 cents to 4.89. Silver was up just a little bit to 27.87, and the gold silver ratio is still at 89. So that would say that you should be biased towards buying silver versus gold, but I still believe we're going to see $25 silver before this is over, but we're getting some buying opportunities. Tilt and zeros were up almost, I think, like 67 cents today each, even though the market was up. Usually those go in reverse of each other, so that was kind of interesting. So it's been one of my best investments was Tilt. A couple of weeks ago, I got back into Tilt, and it's done quite well. And I like that one over zeros just because it pays a monthly dividend check. So that's kind of nice. So I would recommend that for some money that you hope to get back, as opposed to return on your money, just return of your money. is what I think we should be looking for at this point. Wheat was down 4 cents, which took it down below $5 again. There's another bargain, I believe, that you can't lose very much on. Wheat under $5 a bushel is, as much inflation as we've had since the last time it was $5 a bushel. It's a real bargain. PDBA was down a little bit, which didn't surprise me today. And PDBC, which is more broadly commodities versus agricultural commodities, was also down today, even though gold and silver, like I said, we're both up a little bit. Oil was down, which probably affects that one more. The military industrial complex, everything that I follow was all up today. Surprise, surprise. So I think that says something about what's going on in the Middle East. So if you're intent on staying in the stock market, I think this is a safe place to be that you can count on. Looks like we're going to have plenty of wars and rumors of wars. U.S. oil was down below $78 today. It's been on a tear, been up for 4 or 5 sessions. So generally the price of oil is related to inflation, recession, or war in this case. A stock that I happen to have is a pipeline midstream company, WES. They took a hit today because they missed their earnings by 6 cents, and which they were down about $1 and $1.34, I think, today, which took their dividend yield quite a bit over 9%. So something, if you're looking for income, I think this is a pretty good play in our future lower income arena. I think 9% income will be really useful to some people. Bitcoin was up today, broke back above 60,000. So not sure where it's going to go next. It doesn't seem to be a digital gold at the moment. It seems to be acting like a risk asset again. So, but I think it's a safe place to do dollar cost averaging on, certainly. And so Ethereum was up $200 since last week when I talked about that it was on sale at 20% off. So if I and y'all had followed my advice, you would be up pretty nicely today. The not so rumors of war in the Middle East, so seems to be on fire. I think that's why oil has been on a tear. That's hopefully simmering down a little bit. Don't know. Still got a war on fossil fuels, war on the middle class, which involves food, medicine, and housing. And speaking of housing, Saturday, everything you know about buying a house will change. Anybody know anything about that? There was a lawsuit that got settled, I don't know, it's been months ago, but it's finally taken effect this Saturday between the American Realtors Association, whatever, about how we pay, how the buyer pays for the realtor that represents him. And I'm not sure I can really explain it good because I couldn't find anybody else that seems that could explain it, but it's going to kind of go back to the way it was during COVID, where you can't just show up at a open house. If you want to see a house, you got to sign paperwork and probably get it verified that you've actually got money for a down payment and things like that. And you have to have a contract with the that basically says that you will pay the realtor that's representing you to show the house to you before you can see the house. So you can't just wake up Saturday morning and say, oh, I'm going to go house hunting today. And this may have a detrimental effect on the number of transactions that are completed in this time period until people get adjusted, and it'll probably put a lot of realtors out of business that,
Does that mean like
don't
there's
sell
no,
many houses. These that sell 2 or 3 houses a year won't be able to work in this kind of environment, I don't think. So anyway, something to be aware of if you're in the housing market or on either
like
side. So war on cash still going on. Still recommend that everybody use cash when they get the opportunity. But now is now, right after election, supposedly going to try to do everything they can do to get rid of cash. We have a war on food in the Netherlands, Germany, France, Italy, USA. War on gardens in some places around the world. War on meat. All the beef cattle are supposed to be chipped, I think, maybe by the end of the year. War on cancer. They don't want to talk about that one. So seasonal information. If you're going to plant some trees this fall, it'd be a good time to propagate them or order them. Think about propagating other things that you can, comfrey, blueberries, pear trees, apple trees. Still got time to do that through air layering. Still time to plant some fall garden stuff still, the cold crops. Brassica in particular, lettuce. Plan for the harvest. Hopefully you're getting some harvest out of your garden. Bees may need a little assistance this year. It's been so dry. Thank goodness we got over 4 inches of slow rain last week. And so order your seeds and trees. May be able to catch some stuff on sale at your local places like the co-op over here in Madison. But there's this year's and last year's seeds on sale. And I hope everybody's got potassium iodine for their whole family, just in case. Yeah, Mike, I think you mentioned earlier that you might be able to use kelp for that. You have any knowledge on that you could share?
I don't remember if I said that or not, but I do know that kelp is fairly high in iodine as far as plants go.
Yeah, and and iodine's definitely good for you anyway. So
Right.
apparently most of us don't get near enough of it. Good for my cancer routine and other ailments. Now, about any progress that you'd like to share. Might be cool enough to do some wood cutting before long.
Yeah, I think it's getting there. My sweet potatoes and corn are looking great. Potatoes are okay. I lost my turnips to some sort of bug that I didn't notice till it's too late.
The kind of shield looking bugs with the spots on them, sort of.
They got away without a trace. I didn't notice them. Just skeletons left.
Okay. Yeah, I have that trouble a lot of times too. And your fall crop, you gotta wait till they go away before you plant your fall crop too. I usually plant too early. And boy, when the brassica is like 2 inches tall, I mean it doesn't take them but a day to wipe them all out.
Yeah, I do have a couple of I think melons and pumpkins. I'm sort of guerrilla gardening on my own property. We'll see if I can keep the deer away or not.
Anyway. Talked, I was almost rehashed the alpha strategy tonight, but I found something else, that some other shiny object that caught my eye first. And those who feel uncomfortable about buying ammo and using that as a barter item, primers are an ideal alpha strategy item, in that they're high value, low weight, and store for a long time, and a high dollar worth in a small area. So, something to think about, primers, if you can get them. And one thing I brought up Sunday was that when we're growing our own food and stuff, don't just think about vegetables and fruits. Sometimes it's easier to grow animals than it is a garden, depending on the weather and everything. And I had a late this is eight turkeys that this blob here is a hen turkey, but and this that she hatched out, and I put her in this pen afterwards. And this rooster here seems to think he's the daddy, taking parental duties, marching around the outside of this pen. Kind of interesting. And I talked yes, last week or week before last, about that I was going to plant some field peas before the storm came in, the rain, and that worked out just lovely. I mean, they're all up and got a good stand. Hopefully they will make before frost. So these are whippoorwill peas that I wanted to expand my seed supply of, and hopefully I'll get that accomplished. But as you can see, I didn't work that bed very much, and it was covered with like 2 inches of manure from the sale barn, and it was really rough. But those peas will come right on up through that, and they did, and so everything came out good there. And the other thing I did that I said I was going to do was plant my skips in the corn with sweet corn, and that came up fairly well. Not as good as the peas did, but it came up fairly well. Got a pretty good stand. And this right here, Mike, you may know what this is, because I know you got some too. But I don't know whether you got it planted or not. But this is turmeric that I got the roots from my neighbor to start. And I planted that when I planted the original corn back here. There's one that came up, and not getting a good stand of it, but enough to produce enough roots, hopefully, to carry on and plant again next spring. We'll have better luck. And today, look what I found. These are muscadine.
Yeah.
And they were still a little sour, but I had a couple of them and they were quite tasty. So I'm looking forward to, looks like going to have a good crop of muscadines this year.
Are these, no, these aren't wild ones. These are ones you planted?
Yeah, I bought them from a nursery in Georgia
Gotcha.
several years ago. I have probably 8 or 10 different varieties now. I thought that I would prefer these, but actually the bronze ones I really like even more. And I thought that these would have a higher ORAC rating than the bronze ones, just because they're dark color. But supposedly they're the same, so. That doesn't seem to matter, but they're both really high, lot higher than your regular European grapes or American grapes, as far as that matters. So tonight we're gonna play a little video, and it's about what are you preparing for? And so preparedness and self-reliance are really a way of life. If you can't take care of yourself, how can you help others? And I'll always we don't know what we don't know. So so you're listening to this, you get a chance, take notes, pick out a topic that you feel is near and dear to you and that you can speak to after it's over. There will be a test. This guy's Southern Prepper One. He's kind of given preparedness from a Christian standpoint of view. Has a very good heart.
I get a lot of questions like, Dave, what are you preparing for? What's going to happen? And to be honest, I have totally redone my mindset about preparing, about prepping. First of all, I want to say that you need to rely on Jesus Christ and not what you put back. Because anything you put back, oh, I got a year's supply of food, I got this, I got that, can be taken from you. A tornado, a hurricane, an earthquake, you name it. Or the Lord could just say, hey, I'm going to see if you love me as much as you say. My pastor has said some good things in the last couple of weeks. One was being content. Are you content with what you have? And would you be content or happy if the Lord took everything you owned away? Your family, just think of Job. He lost his wife, his family, all his possessions. He was inflicted. Would you be content, whatever your course would be? Some of you right now I know are hurting. I know without a shadow of a doubt because I'm talking to you. And it's heartbreaking. But I want to tell you why I've switched. I'm not preparing for, an earthquake, a hurricane. All those things I am going to be prepared for, but I'm preparing so my family's a lifestyle, standard of living, their lifestyle, their comforts will not drastically be affected, which is great. But it's also, I want to be more self-sufficient, self-sustaining, self-relying, self-supporting, whatever you want to call it. I want to be able to rely on myself, not the government, not big business, big banks. I want to be able to rely first on the Lord Jesus Christ. He's the center of my life. And that's what guides me in doing whatever I do. I hope you have that in your life. I hope you have Jesus Christ in your life. It can get you through the situations without a shadow of a doubt. I have felt his presence in my life since the day I got saved, which was a long, long time ago. I definitely felt it when I've deployed, been overseas, in situations where you had to rely on him. You couldn't do it on your own strength. You couldn't do it on your buddy's strength. It was a supernatural thing that took care of us. Situation after situation after situation proved that his hand was protecting me, was protecting other guys around me. So now I'm preparing for simple comfort. I want to be comfort, but I want my wife, my kids, my grandchildren to be comfortable under whatever happens. I think you can't really be truly free unless you're in a place in life where you don't have to rely on the government. You don't have to rely on big banks, big businesses. You can rely on first, always, the Lord Jesus Christ. And then secondly, on you or your friends or your neighborhoods or your communities. it's definitely going to be easier to survive if you're in a community, if you have like-minded friends, if your family is on board. It's going to be easier to survive. If you're relying right now on the government, and I'm not making this video to smash you down or to depress you. If you're saying, because I've been talking to a few people, they're barely making it. And they say, Dave, I'm working a lot. I'm working 40 hours a week. Sometimes in life, you have to work more than 40 hours a week. If you're a healthy individual and you don't have, little kids to take care of or family members to take care of, you have the ability to work more than 40. Does it stink? Does it suck? Is it terrible? Yes, I did that a big part of my whole life. Worked multiple jobs. My parents gave me one thing. First of all, a love of Jesus Christ, but they also gave me hard work, just a work ethic. That was from when I was a little tiny tot. We would be given, all three of the kids would be given a row of vegetables to weed. It stunk. It was not fun. It was nasty. But you know what? From that, the work ethic has been around. That's why I'm trying to instill in my son. My son's work ethic is better than mine. There's a lot of times when I'm saying, man, I'm done. I'm going to the house. And he stays out there for hours. He gets the lights out and continues working. And I'm in the house. I feel bad sometimes. But I also say I put my time in. And it's his time to put a little extra work in. So if you're struggling and you're saying, I can't get ahead, maybe you need to relook at what you're doing. My philosophy in life, I've never gone out to try to make a lot of money. Never. But it's worked out where I've done things that I like. Prepping is something I like, and that's turned into YouTube. It's turned into selling survival supplies. So first of all, if you're miserable in your job, maybe you need to leave your job. Now, just don't jump up and leave today. Start thinking, what is my strengths? What are my weaknesses? Talk to people. Talk to people that have small businesses. If you go to a good church, talk to some people that have gone through it. If you're 30 years old, talk to those guys 60, 65 that are running businesses or already retired. They're going to give you a lot of helpful hints. But it goes back to what I'm saying is community, friends. You've got to be plugged in with other people that have strengths that you don't have. If you're trying to do it by yourself, it is so much harder. So if you're struggling right now, you got to change something up. Maybe you need to get another job. Maybe you need to get a side job and try to develop a small business where you can make some extra money. If you're only working 40 hours and you're going home and sitting on the couch and flipping through the TV or getting on the computer and checking out all the craziest, latest things on the internet, you're going to have to change that. And that takes discipline. I mean, it's easy at the end of the day when you put in a hard 8 hours to go home and just, Now, some of you go home and you got kids to take care of and things to do at the house, and rightfully so. Maybe you can do something at your house to become more self-sufficient, more self-sustaining. A garden. If you're not planting a garden and you got the time and you got a little bit of space, plant it. You might only save a little bit of money on the grocery bill, but I will guarantee you're going to get a much better quality, and you're learning something. You're learning how to grow things, and that could be a skill set that will help you. Maybe you can develop into, hey, I can grow certain things and I can sell them during the summertime. But find out what you like. If you're into computers, try to fix computers. Nowadays, everything's disposable. Try to find something in your little niche that you like to do, because then you'll want to do it. So my goal is, first of all, more self-supporting right here on this property. So any problems that come along, my wife will be comfortable. My grandbabies will be comfortable. And that's why, I'm going with solar. I'm going with all these backups, so we can take care of everything. So look at it. We have a well. We have a couple springs. We have rain catchment. I want to have water. I want to have clean water. I want solar. We have a septic tank on my house, a septic tank on my son's house. So that's how we're going to dispose of our waste. So start thinking, I want to be comfortable. Who cares what happens? I want to be comfortable. So you can survive whatever happens. But as you become more self-independent and you don't have to rely on big business or big government, you're going to save money. Yes, sometimes the cost of getting started is high, but if you do it yourself or I rely on Mr. Off-Grid a lot. He's my great friend. I have about 3 or 4 great friends, and I can tell you how I determine my great friends are and I'm just being facetious here. Do not take me serious. If I had to bury a body, do I have friends I could call that would say, yep, I'll come over with my shovel and be right there and not say a word to me and help me bury the body? That's what I'm getting at. No, I don't have any bodies to bury. So law enforcement, don't come digging up my yard. But I want to be able to survive anything. And then I want to go into the comfort and thrive. I want to thrive here. If the economy crashes, I want to thrive by having a milk cow, by having, fruit trees, by doing all these things here. The biggest thing is helping others. I cannot help anyone in this world unless I can take care of myself and take care of my family. Right now, my priority is my wife. She is what I have to take care of. And then my grown kids, my grandkids, my parents, and it goes out from there. So if I cannot prepare in life to take care of myself, I can't take care of others. And that is a huge thing I want to do. When God has blessed you, you can't outgive God. My wife and me are just amazed that you can't outgive God. So when you see a need, I want to be able to say, hey, I can meet that need. The Lord has provided for me. I can take care of that need. And it is a great feeling. And that's what, as Christians, you're supposed to do. If someone is suffering, and you definitely can just snap your fingers and say, hey, I can do that. I can take care of that for you. That's our purpose on life. Then I'm looking at an inheritance. What am I going to leave my children? First, I hopefully will leave them a spiritual inheritance. I hope they will all be saved before I pass away. And we're doing good on that. So an inheritance, what am I going to leave them? A legacy. And it's really, I want to create generational wealth. So my kids will not have it as hard as me. When I started out in high school, I worked for a local school district. I cleaned toilets. I did maintenance for them. I cut grass. I worked my butt off when I was in probably 10th grade. By 11th and 12th grade, I was probably working over 40 hours some weeks. Trying to do my schoolwork and work. I could get away with that because on certain days they would hire the building out, so I would get paid separately. Nowadays, you only can work a certain amount of hours. So that work ethic paid off for me, and my kids have it now. And I want them to appreciate what I'm going to give to them. Generational wealth. I don't want them to have to say, every week when it's payday, say, oh man, I don't have enough money to pay the bills. And I know a lot of people are there right now. So I'm trying to encourage you. If you're at that position, you have to rethink your life. You have to. You can't just keep going on the same thing, trying to do the same thing and think something's going to happen. It gets back to, what are you spending your money on? Are you budgeting properly? Are you thinking long term? My whole life I thought long term. It's just genetically put into me. The Lord's put that into me. Short term is nice, going home and getting a soda out and getting a candy bar and sitting on the couch and watching TV for 4 hours in the evening. That sounds good to me. But I know the short term pleasures will make me fat, probably kill me with all that candy and sugar. I won't get nothing done, and I wasted 4 hours. So if you're wasting time, that's on you. You can correct that. And that's an individual thing. So start thinking, start looking at your life. Am I wasting time? Am I wasting money? If you're spending $60, $70, $80 on cable TV, to me, that's a waste of money. To you, it might not be. There's a lot of free, Freevee, Roku. There's so much out there that you could get for absolutely free. You don't spend a dime. So look at that. You need to sit down and look at your short-term and your long-term goals. You got to write them down. What are my goals for the next 6 months, the next 3 months, the next year? And a lot of that should be just getting down debt. And probably top of that would not be getting down debt, is not bringing on any new debt. If you got a problem with credit cards, take your credit card, put it in an envelope, get another envelope, put it in that envelope, seal it all up, put it on your mattress or something, and say that's for an emergency only. If I rip into that, it better be a dire emergency, like a tire blew on the car. Recommend Dave Ramsey. Get online, look at Dave Ramsey. He will set out goals for you. He will set out, have an emergency fund. And I agree with everything Dave Ramsey says in the sense of budgeting. So I'm prepping for any event that will cause discomfort to my family. I want them to be comfortable. I'm prepping for generational wealth. So my grandsons will have it easier than me. So they can say, you know what? Poppy gave me this. I need to make sure I double this so my children, and I'm not saying this in a worldly way, like I got to make money, I got to do this, I got to do this. No, I want to be able to sufficiently take care of myself, my children, and then be able to bless people. Poor people cannot bless people other than praying with them or in a non-tangible way. People with money have the ability to bless people. That's why I want every neighbor around me to be rich, because if every neighbor around me be rich, guess what? It's going to create an environment where if my grandkids grow up and they want to cut grass, guess what? There's people that are going to say, hey, I got plenty, I don't want to cut my grass anymore. Come cut my grass, or do this, or do this. Cut these trees down for me. So short-term, long-term goals, where you want to be. Creating this wealth, I'm also looking at the dollar collapsing. So it's not like, hey, I'm going to have all this money in stocks and bonds. No, I look a different way. I would rather have an excavator so we can do work here. If I can do the work myself, I don't have to pay big bucks for some guy to come in here and do work. And then, worst case, that excavator could be used by my son to go make money. If he needs to. If he needs to generate income, we could generate income with that excavator. So I'm preparing for a dollar collapse, so I'm not concentrating on stocks and bonds. I'm concentrating on practical things. And the biggest thing you could do is get out of debt. When you're out of debt, what we did was we got out of debt to a point where we could then, one item, if we needed something, every dollar we have, every dollar we can make, every extra dollar we can make would go into that item. So say you buy a car. Work as hard as you can to pay that car off. And so if you get a 4-year loan, try to pay it off in 2 years. Try to pay it off in 18 months. That's how you build wealth, because when you're giving all that interest to the big banks, they're making lots of money and you're going in the hole. I hope this helps. I don't want to discourage you, but if you're feeling the pinch right now, reevaluate what you're doing. If you're lazy, get off your butt and work. Please, I know a lot of kids out in there, 20, 25, they're the laziest people I've ever seen. Some people are lazy because mom and dad gave them everything. And that's what I do not want with my kids. And both my adult children are not like that, exact opposite. They're go-getters, hard workers. But I want to make sure my grandchildren don't say, oh, I don't need to work as hard, because I know kids out there right now that don't have to work at all. And they're lazy, lazy, lazy. I hope this helps. The Lord is good. If you're struggling physically, reevaluate what you're doing. If you're struggling spiritually, you're lonely, contact me, southernprepper1@yahoo.com. I'm not going to email you. We're going to talk on the phone. That's the best way to communicate what you're feeling, what I'm feeling, and it gets it done quicker and more efficiently. southernprepper1@yahoo.com.
Okay. Hi, Kathy. You get to be first up. Hello, Kathy. Yeah, lost her. Anyway, um, okay, Mike, what'd you get out of this?
Well, I am preparing for a number of scenarios. And the specific things that I'm doing, maybe talk about more after the
Okay,
recording, but I think I am trying to prepare for a future where my assumption is that the grid is either down or unreliable, and that I'll be able to maintain life, but I'll say ideally some comfort as well, because I think frankly I'm probably pretty soft compared to my ancestors, and so some of the things I'm focused on are definitely life sustaining, like water, getting a second well in operation. I'm definitely wish that I had a spring and things like that, but I don't. But I'm also I've got a lot of stuff going, but one of the things I'm looking at is I did put solar in, but it's not enough to run my entire load at its peak. And so I'm looking at ways of being more energy efficient and breaking that up so that, if I need to run off of solar, I can rotate that load around, and still practicing my gardening. So I'm hoping that the need to be good at that doesn't come too soon.
yeah, because it's some as the reason I brought up animals is because especially in a drought year, seems like it's easier to keep animals alive than it is to keep a garden productive.
Yeah. So the one well that we've been living off of since we moved here is considered low yielding. And this year has been the best garden yet. And even with the drought, I doing spot watering, it's been a good exercise, I think, in learning how to do with less and time things. And we've got another well in the works, but I just haven't had time to finish that up. And we had this other cottage where we sometimes have guests, and we've learned to time washings and delay them. And I think those are all things that can come in handy down the road when maybe we don't have the ability to do everything that we always do all at once, but we might still be able to do everything just spaced out over time, and with a little less convenience.
Or if you had to do less for more people.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, I think of, what if I just needed to turn the generator on and pump out 100 gallons of water and then, parse that out over time, and you're exactly right. That is, one of my assumptions is that there possibility exists that I may need to support some additional people, whether that be neighbors, friends, or most likely family. And so, I'm trying to establish something that's capable, that has some elasticity, so probably could drone on for quite a long time.
Deborah, how about you? What do you think?
Okay. I liked the question. What are you preparing for? But I liked his first answer, which was Jesus, because that one is coming from mom perspective, that is what I'm going to teach my kids, just like he teaches them hard work. I have kids that are on a mission, going on a mission, and the resilience is not really there in their age group. And my kids are, but it's because we lived on the farm, or we chose that farm life. But more than anything, for me, it's about revelation. And I've been working on it for years, because that's going to tell me what I need to do when I need to do it, because I would love to have solar, but I can't afford it. I would love to do certain things, but it is just not possible. Because if I did do those things, I would be in debt. So trade-off is to kind of try to do with what you have, and keep the mentality. The Lord has the earth and there is enough. There is enough. Sometimes I have to look outside of, a box in a store to how to do it on my own. And so I rely a lot on revelation to find things, even just Facebook groups. I belong to a depression, recession Facebook group where all the recipes, and a lot of people are without money, like he's talking about, and they are creating recipes that their grandparents had or great grandparents, and their cookbooks, and how to budget for people who are on Social Security and don't have any more than that. But the Lord kind of, gets me going in certain places where I need to be. And I find that's, so I'm not preparing for a disaster, or it's kind of just the basics of whatever he tells me I need to focus on next. I do have the basics because that's where the church starts you. But after that, to become more of, well, if you can't have solar, Deborah, what are you going to do? So that's what I got from it. Was I agree with him in Jesus, and kind of teaching your family.
Well, what I got from it was you need to build community, and I thought of you, Deborah, on that. You've got excess milk. You need to find somebody that needs some of that excess milk, that has some excess bacon or eggs or something. And I think we all need to have that community, and it's kind of hard, especially within the church, as spread out as we are, but in this area. But imagine this guy Dave, if we each had two neighbors like him, and they're out there, we just don't know who they are. I think that's kind of important. And the other thing about investing in income producing tools, or food producing tools, or fuel producing tools, I think that's another thing that I got out of it. And goal setting and writing them down, which is something I'm not good at, but and then I came back around to his original, if he had two friends that he could call to bury a body, and I thought about that excavator again. And if what's written in Revelations comes about, excavators will be real popular in the end times. So, strange things.
That's a grim thought.
But, anyway, well, I'm going to, if I can stop recording.